Genre theory, the way that we classify movies by their traits. Movies in a specific genre know what the audience expects from it and can either fulfill or subvert those expectations. Films of a genre are aware of and often critical of other films similar to it. One of the most common ways to subvert the audience's expectation for almost any mainstream American genre is by adding race. There are just certain stories where whiteness is the default. We expect to see white superheroes, white royalty, white love interests, white villains. That's why people freak out over things like Black Panther or Bridgerton. They subvert our expectations and understandings. By adding blackness to a narrative, a movie can really begin to question what blackness truly is. Today, I'm going to be covering 3 different movies: Night of the Living Dead, which is a horror movie, Imitation of Life, which is a melodrama, and Concrete Cowboy, which I consider a horse coming-of-age movie. Each one introduces the black characters into movies that, at the times they were made, usually centered around white stories. In their own ways, whether they mean to or not, they explore what it means to be black in America.
What's my little baby got on her mind? I want to go away.
In this version of the movie, directed by John M. Stahl, we follow Bee Pullman, played by Claudette Colman, and Delilah Johnson, played by Louise Beavers, as they try to raise their daughters and become businesswomen, navigating the struggles of motherhood. Well, actually, I think this description gives the movie too much credit. While most people remember this movie because of the struggles that Delilah faces when trying to raise her white-passing daughter Peola, played by Freddie Washington, this movie isn't really about either of them. Both of our black characters are a cautionary tale to Bee, helping her come to realizations about herself and her daughter. According to how we understand the genre of melodrama, we know that melodramas love to play with the tragedy of time. Most melodramas try to make you feel sympathetic towards the protagonist, who is stuck having to make a challenging moral decision in a stressful time frame. Blackness in this movie is suffering, but suffering is important because it helps white characters like Bee find themselves and appreciate how good they've got it. Like all good melodramas, it plays with emotions, exploring the weight of tragic situations. Peola is her character that was simply too late and struggled to make the correct moral choice in her given time frame. She failed to realize that the right decision in this case was to value her mommy. Peola's trauma from blackness and black identity was only explored so Bee can realize the value of her own relationship with her daughter. Blackness is a side plot. Blackness is a cautionary tale for white viewers. Blackness exists only to teach others how to cope with suffering and how to make the right decisions. Night of the Living Dead, directed by George Romero, is one of, if not the, most influential zombie movies ever made. The movie follows Ben, played by Dwayne Jones, as he, along with a house full of other characters, struggle to survive a mysterious epidemic of mindless, cannibalistic ghouls. Ben, whose race has absolutely nothing to do with the actual script, changes the context of the entire movie just by being played by a black man. Horror movies often base their scary element off of some social issue. They like to straddle the line between what's human and what's monstrous. The things that we're scared of in horror movies, like vampires, zombies, or aliens, are often echoes of our own everyday fears, like imposters, contagion, or outsiders. Ben is no longer our everyday protagonist. He's a black guy, surrounded by an all-white zombie horde. Who are these monsters to Ben? Is he able to stay level-headed in the middle of this crisis because he's used to protecting himself from dangerous white people threatening to take his life? Throughout the movie, we see TV broadcasts of how people are dealing with the zombie uprising. Traditional American dudes with guns are shown to be an effective zombie-killing squad. To the viewer's surprise, these dudes are the ones that end up killing Ben, even after he survived a night full of fighting bloodthirsty ghouls. The border of who you can or can't trust becomes blurry when you're black in America. When I watch this movie, I get the feeling that blackness means constant vigilance. I think the horror movie isn't only about the inability to escape, but the fact that humans, not flesh-eating ghouls, were Ben's downfall. He let his guard down, he trusted other people, and he died because of it.
Yo! This Chuck. You ain't making no friends, so watch your hands.
There's a horse in your house.
Concrete Cowboy follows the story of a rowdy teenager named Cole, played by Caleb McLaughlin, who's sent to his cowboy father, Harp, played by Idris Elba, who lives in the inner city of Philadelphia. There he discovers a community of black cowboys who help him find himself. The movie is described on Wikipedia as a Western, but like I mentioned earlier, I associate it more with a specific niche of movie, the horse coming-of-age movie. Polygon analyzes the appeal of horse kid media like this. This platonic horse represents a refusal to be tamed, an inherent beauty, and a superhuman strength. And anyone who proves themselves worthy of a horse's trust takes on those traits by proxy. Horse kid movies often star a wild, untamable horse that can only be understood and properly loved by a misunderstood outcast. As the protagonist learns more about its steed through hard work and emotional bonding, they begin to understand themselves. So an audience will usually watch a horse movie expecting to learn about the relationship between beauty and power, and how they can both coexist. A horse movie about a young black man in the hood intentionally goes against genre norms. So Concrete Cowboy uses its genre to really emphasize the point that blackness and the traits of it can't be easily defined. The movie is straddling between the 90s hood genre, which we expect black people to be in, and a western-like horse movie, which black people barely ever play a part in. Cole ends up going against conventional understandings of blackness and becomes a cowboy like his father. Black people and horses find power and beauty in one another because they understand each other. Cole learns, along with the audience, that there's a beautiful complexity to being a black teen. His life path isn't defined by gun violence and drugs. Instead, he learns that blackness isn't a monolith. He realizes that there are different forms of expression and other ways to become a man.